Hello! Today, World Sociological Society interviews Joseph Milberg. Hello, Joseph. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you.
Excellent. Are you ready to start the questions, Joseph?
Go ahead.
Excellent. Question 1. How did you...
I'm sorry, will you repeat that question? Is something wrong with the audio?
Question 1. How did you get into typology?
To be honest, I don't recall how I got into typology, but I do know that I got into socionics through Myers-Briggs. Socionics being something which at first appealed to me a lot more, but something I realized that if I were to start out with socionics, I would just give up because there's too much depth to go into.
I see. You found it initially rather appealing, but there's a lot of stuff to it, a lot of complexity. So
Yes.
did you find... So you say that the complexity was a bit too much for you?
Hmm. Not too much of a complexity, rather that I realized that well, there is a very good curve which looks like this, showing one's willingness to opine on a topic and the actual knowledge of that topic. At first, it will go up rather steep, rather quickly, then it will go down very quickly. Because at first one thinks one realizes everything, then I see, oh shit, there's so much to learn, and then it starts to be rather even between the actual skill and the willingness to opine on the topic. So what I saw about socionics
Yes.
was that every hour I would invest into studying socionics would give a lot less, would be a lot less rewarding than 1 hour studying Myers-Briggs. But from what I could see, the functions had a sort of similar thought behind them. So wanting to get into socionics, it wouldn't be a waste getting to know Myers-Briggs first. Did that answer your question?
You thought that learning MBTI does answer my question. That you're seeing you're approaching MBTI. I see. Okay. What interests you about psychology in general?
Well, that question would imply that I were to have a general interest in psychology, wouldn't it?
That's true.
Well, what I realized that I believe that at that time in my life I was in a position where I wanted to learn more about myself and saw MBTI as sort of a quick fix. And then once I got deeper into the typology community, I realized that it's quite a better tool to understand other people than understanding oneself. And that's when I saw a lot of opportunity. Yeah, let's pause there. Can you still hear me? Both the audio and the video seems to have frozen.
Hello?
Hello? Now I can hear you again. I lost you
Ah,
somewhere halfway
lost you for a
through
bit.
recent comment, I think.
I see. Okay, so from what I remember, you said that you saw a great amount of opportunity in MBTI after getting involved in their community.
Yes. At first I thought I'd use MBTI to understand myself better, but then I realized it was a much better tool to help me understand other people, what makes them tick.
Okay.
And this was the largest appeal for me, I thought, when I actually started going into sociology. Well, listening with boundary function, demonstrative function.
That makes sense. Okay. Do you work or go to college?
I go to college.
What do you do at college?
I study computer science.
Computer design?
Science.
Computer science?
It's
I
called.
see.
I don't know. I don't know what's it called in English. Something around computer management. Somewhere in the vicinity. I don't know if there's an actual word for it in English.
Interesting. Okay, so something to do with the management of computers. Is that in what context are computers used for this particular field of study?
I'm trying to compare it to engineering. For engineering, there are people who actually know their shit, and there are people who are somewhere in between economics and engineering, taking advantage of those who are good and making money out of it. And
Yes.
the relationship between actual programming and my field of study is about the same.
Okay. So that's related to actually getting to understand computers and involving in programming of computers.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it involves a large amount of technical knowledge. We say that's correct?
No.
Okay, it doesn't involve much technical knowledge.
It's not that technical. It's more about. Let's call it supervision of programmers in a business context.
I see. So in other words, it's more of a management side than the actual technical programming side. I see.
I'm sorry if there are some words I don't know how to explain. English is my first language.
That's fine. That's why we've got plenty of time to do the interview in. Okay. Do you enjoy what you're doing?
I enjoy it enough.
Enjoy it enough. I see. What would you like to do instead?
That's the point, isn't it? I enjoy it enough not to do anything else instead.
I see. Ah, okay. So, what would you, if you were to be able to do something, what would you be doing? If you could do anything you wanted?
We will have to do some rewinding for that. I started off studying law because I wanted to be a judge, but then I had a rather nasty split up with my girlfriend and couldn't go on studying. So, had you asked me a few years ago, I would say I wanted to study law, I could do anything, but now law is sort of ruined for me.
I see. What did you, when you were into law, what did you enjoy about law?
There is a sort of appealing intellectual creativity to it.
So, you see law as being something like some sort of system or framework that you can play around with?
Yes, I like the way it's put that there are certain frames, but within those frames there's a lot of freedom.
I see. And the idea that you can exploit loopholes.
That's a nasty question, isn't it?
Well, I'm not sure. Is it the judge's responsibility to exploit the loopholes, or is it the lawyer's responsibility?
Well, if you and I were to be in a courtroom, you would be the attorney, and I would be the judge, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Because you are more of the devil's advocate sort of person, and I would be the one. I would. A lot of friends would ask me why won't you be a defense attorney instead? They make a lot more money. But I would really dislike having to try to defend someone I would think would be guilty. I think it would be a lot more interesting time to find out the truth.
I see. So for you, law is a pursuit of truth rather than exercising that creativity to get people off.
Yes.
Okay. What do you do that you feel is an important part of who you are?
I bully those who bully others.
How do you bully those who bully others?
Let's use a theoretical example. Let's say that someone were to harass a friend of mine constantly. I would seek them up at their house and say that I will hurt you immensely unless you stop.
I see. So would you say that you're someone who's not afraid to use coercion in the name of what you feel is right?
I have a very hard time using it when standing up for myself, but I'm rather adept at using it in defense of others.
I see. Why is it that you're unable to stand up for yourself, but are able to stand up for others?
That's one of the questions I try to seek an answer to, but I believe that's more of Enneagram than socionic.
Interesting. What have you managed to find a number for yourself in an Enneagram?
No.
Okay. Interesting.
In general, I have a much easier time typing others than typing myself.
Would you say that you are not particularly aware of the qualities that make up you as a person?
I think that I would have a hard time defining myself in something else than actions.
I see. So you are someone who you're very aware of what you do, but not as aware of how you are.
Yes.
Okay.
But because I am unaware of what is me, you shouldn't put too much thought into it.
I see. What are your hobbies and interests?
I like throwing dinner parties with my friends, and I play music.
Okay. What are your interests other than your hobbies? What areas do you find particularly interesting?
What makes people tick?
I see. Do you see that there are any other things that you tend to do that make you stand out compared to others?
In my opinion, or in the opinion of them, or in their opinion?
I'd say that both would be useful.
I'm afraid I can't answer that question.
Okay. How how do you approach responsibility?
Who gave me the responsibility?
Ah,
I
I see.
believe that it is intended to be a very open-ended question, but I have a very hard time answering it without trying to cut it down to smaller pieces.
Okay.
It's also a sort
That
of answer, isn't it? Which is also a
I
sort
don't
of
know.
answer, isn't it?
Yes. Okay. If someone whose authority you respected were to assign you responsibility, would you therefore adhere to it?
That would depend. I would ask myself a few questions. Is this something I actually can do? Is this something... Just because they are a person of authority doesn't mean that the task they appoint me with is one I would be willing to carry out. But let's say that I respect them because of what they do, and that this task that I'm given is something which is in line is a key to completing this task which a person of authority wants to carry out, then I would go all in.
I see. So, in other words, if someone, if it's a task which you can do, which you want to do, then you'll do it.
Yes.
Is there? Okay. What do you tend to expect of other people?
I would expect less of them than I would expect of myself.
Do you hold yourself to very high standards?
Yes. Quite often I will take on more tasks than I really would have to, because I'm not confident that they will be executed in the right or correct manner if I don't do them myself.
I see. So you are someone who proactively takes on responsibilities.
Yes.
I see. Does that make you a very busy person?
Because of me being very all-in once I decide that I will perform a task, I also have to say no to quite a lot of the stuff. So my task level will be it will not be very fluid. It will be very on-off, on-off. So
I see.
once I have a task, I will be very busy until it's completed, but then I will have periods of... I'll have to restart that one.
Okay.
Yes, I'm busy.
You are busy. Okay. But you have said there's like a pattern to you being busy where you suddenly take on something, and then when you're not busy, yeah, you're either busy or you're not busy. There's no like smooth transition. It's just you are busy or you're not.
I tend to be very busy, and I do lots of stuff. And then if all the tasks are completed, then I will, then my body, and when I give my body the time to say no, I will collapse.
I see.
And then I will rinse and repeat.
If you give your body the time to say no.
I have a very, let's say, my relationship with how much can I actually manage in terms of sleep, food, consumption of energy, etc. I have a very difficult relationship with that. So let's say I catch a cold, I will go on for 2 weeks, and and if there is a time gap when I don't have something in particular to do, then the cold will suddenly catch up, and I will be, well, I will be what? I will be out for several days.
Okay. So you repeatedly almost take on so much activity that you're unable to look after yourself, and then you crash.
Yes, that's
I
good
see.
summary.
Okay. Describe your relations with family and friends.
Have you ever seen the film Gladiator with Russell Crowe?
Mm-hmm.
There's a scene with two of the senators sitting in front of the Colosseum having wine, and one of the senators say, "So you're enjoying the wine here, just like your beloved plebs." And the other one answers, "I'm not trying to be a man of the people, Senator, but I'm trying to be a man for the people."
Mm-hmm.
That's in general, my relationship to my friends and family.
You are someone who proactively makes yourself responsible for these people.
Yes.
I see. Mm-hmm. Do you have many friends?
I have very many acquaintances. Actual friends, 10, 12.
I see. Why are these people your friends?
So are you asking for my definition of friendship?
Mm-hmm. Or at least what makes a person worthwhile being a friend for?
I never actually considered that question. Someone whom I will be able to spend time with without really trying, without making too much of an effort.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say a shallow acquaintance who you want to gain someone from. You may have to smooth the talk because you want them to like you, but with the best of my friends, I'm able to just sit still and do nothing for extended periods of time.
Mm-hmm. So someone who does not require you to actually proactively contribute to some sort of emotional atmosphere. Instead, it just allows you to be who you are.
Now, that will be a tricky question for me to answer because I know what conclusion you will draw from the answer I would give you.
Oh, what conclusion would I draw?
That's a very FE question.
You've been reading up. Okay.
But
How would you answer that question in a way that you feel is least misleading?
I would describe a friend as someone whom I won't have to exhaust my energy resources spending time with, but just giving me a sort of tranquil peace of mind,
I see.
which is in some ways contributed to FE, yes.
Okay. I get the sense that you think I'm interpreting it in a way which I'm actually not.
This may be the case.
Okay. Okay. Hmm. Now, with your friends, or in your family even, are you somewhere in the pecking order? Do you belong with a group of friends you belong to?
Sorry, what you say? Do I belong to a
It,
group of
it,
friends?
yes. Do you belong to a group of people? Say in your family, do you fit into some sort of pecking order, or are you in some sort of hierarchy?
In the group of friends which I spend the most time with, or rather, which I would rather spend time with, I will be at the. I would say it's a rather flat organization, but if there were to be a hierarchy, I would be at the top.
I see. Would you say that you're someone who is good at getting to the top?
Without actively trying to get there, yes.
I see. When you do try to get to the top, what tends to happen?
You mean once I actually get there, or
When you try to get to the top, if you're not yet at the top?
well, let's say that I were to actively try to get to the top within a group of people, then how I would go about it would be to study who is in top in this social setting, what is making them be in charge, how can I copy this and be better at it.
I see. So you like to take on the qualities of someone which you think you can use to improve yourself.
Yes.
I see. How are you with romantic relationships? You may skip this if it's too personal.
It's not too personal, but it's a. I would like to have that question narrowed down.
Okay. How have you succeeded and failed in the romantic relationships you've had in the past?
All right. My first romantic relationship lasted for 5 years, so it was rather successful. The problem being that my girlfriend and I didn't really have much in common, but we were attracted to each other.
I see.
And relationships since then all worked out rather well. I do believe I have some sort of issues with getting too close to other people. But for shallow romantic relationships not lasting that long hasn't really been a problem.
I see. So managing levels of closeness with others is something which you find more difficult.
Yes.
I see.
I'm rather unwilling myself to close emotional gaps with other people.
Would you say that you are better at smooth talking someone than you are in forging a close relationship?
Yes.
Okay. What have you always been able to do without much effort?
I can't answer that one, I'm afraid.
Okay. How about this one? What do you find to be a persistent struggle?
Did you get a good view?
Oh, I got a very brief view. Was that a messy room I saw?
Yes.
I see. Okay. I think that answers my question very well. How do you like to learn?
What am I going to learn?
How do you like to learn?
Yes, but what?
So you're asking.
That's all right.
I see. Okay.
Let's say
So,
I'll try to give you a general answer. I would like
yes.
to watch someone doing something, and then
Mm-hmm.
and then learn myself by seeing what I can extrapolate from how they are executing whatever they are doing.
I see. So you go by the raw observations,
Yes,
and from those raw observations, you try and find find what exactly works in those observations, or what doesn't work.
yes, I see what works and what doesn't work, and I see what sort of skills do I already have, what sort of skills will I need to either have them teach me or which I need to teach myself.
I see. So, how would you approach a form of learning where there's a very, very clear syllabus, where there's a lot of structure to that syllabus?
I'm afraid I don't know the word syllabus.
A syllabus like a set of things which you are meant to learn in a certain order.
Hmm. I believe I would try to. I suppose it would be some papers or a book. I would read them several times, and then I would ask someone to. What's the word for it? I would read the paper lot of times, and then would ask someone, please ask me, what's this called? What's this? What do I do then?
I see. Okay. How do you like to explain things to other people?
Hmm. I will try. This would depend upon how well I knew the person or persons, but I would try to see. I did one of these video interviews before with a forum user, and he asked me how would I explain a chair to someone who doesn't know what a chair is. And then I asked him the question. I would try to probe what is the thing that they do know what it is, which is most common to a chair. For example, let's say, do they know what a throne is? Do they know what a tabouret is? Do they know what a sofa is? And then I would explain to them what the differences are between the things that I'm going to explain to them and the reference that they have.
I see. So you take the reference which you know they already have, and you try and get as close to the thing that you're trying to explain as possible, and
Yes.
then you try and bridge the gap.
So let's say I'm going to explain to someone what a sofa is, and I um, ask a question to this. I say, "Oh, all right, you know what an armchair is, but this is several armchairs put together without with only two armrests on it."
Okay. Now you've already answered some of these questions, so I'm going to go to ones which you haven't answered. What have people done to confuse, hurt, annoy, or anger you?
something which confuses me is when people are being, it's called ambiguous, by saying something and meaning something completely else, and not in this sort of sarcasm, but beating around the bush.
I see. Not being direct.
Yes, and what really makes me angry is when someone is either treating friends or family badly, or when someone is taking my things or destroying things which belong to me, or etc., without asking for permission.
I see. Would you say that you are particularly territorial?
I'm not saying I'm that good at defending my territory, but yes, I'm rather very territorial.
Sorry, I didn't hear that so well. You faded out.
I'm rather territorial about people close to me, and but I'm not that territorial about myself.
I see. So, how would you describe a situation where someone would breach your own territory of yourself?
Please elaborate.
Okay. What in terms of not being territorial about yourself, what would be an example of someone encroaching on territory of yourself?
I would tolerate more intrusion upon myself than others. If someone were to start pushing a friend of mine, I would be much more swift to resort to physical confrontation with the other person than if someone were to start pushing me.
I see. Okay. How do you feel towards those who may have wronged you?
What sort of wrongdoing?
How about those who have purposefully wronged you, who you believe to have purposefully wronged you?
I would confront them about it, and I would try to make amends with them. I would try to get them to say I'm sorry, and I would try to understand why they did it and see if there's a good explanation. But if they were to deny it and if they were to deny it, not assume responsibility, I would hold a grudge forever.
Ah, I see. You don't forgive and you don't forget if people have done something wrong enough.
Not unless they were to assume responsibility, or I could see someone had a good reason for doing something.
I see. Okay. What behaviors in people do you simply not understand?
A specific example. Please, I want your honest opinion about this. All right? Are you sure? Yes, please. Don't spare me anything. And then when they are given an honest answer, oh, you are so mean. I can't stand that.
No. Oh, sorry. You okay?
Yeah, I should have checked it. So was someone sitting on the floor though?
Yes.
Sorry. No,
It's okay.
sort of walking into you.
That's okay. I'm just making sure you're okay. You're fine.
Yeah,
You're
I'm
not
fine.
hurt. Okay, good. I'm fine. No damage done. No, just my foot. It's fine.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. Anyway, I'm just finishing the interview. We're done soon.
Just a second.
Okay. Last question. Describe a utopia with ideals and laws you see as most preferable? I wasn't doing interview, don't worry.
I believe that I'll start off what would be the first thing that I would be removing from the current world in order to achieve this utopia.
Okay.
I believe this could be attributed to some sort of Enneagram 6, but what I dislike most, which I try to refrain from thinking about, is hidden toxins, like polluted water, etc., which is entering my body and polluting the inside. That's one of the things I have the most difficult time bearing. Or like
Yes.
Toxins used in agriculture, hormonal shit. I'm not very eloquent, but that would be the first thing I would get rid of, and I believe that's, well, I can't give you a full-on answer because I'm not that much into either politics or philosophy, but I believe that my spontaneous answer will give you some sort of information anyway.
I see. So I imagine that also answers my second question about what about the world we live in particularly irritates you? You say it's just the toxins.
No, it's not just the toxins, but it would be the first thing that I would think about.
I see.
Let's put it like this. I believe that my ideal world, I have a rather romantic view of Victorian England.
Mm-hmm. I can see that making sense. So, if you have a romantic view of Victorian England, what particularly irritates you?
If you were to ask my girlfriend, there are many things that annoy me, but in general I would say that I dislike that this is a world of let's take American comedies, which are promoting the idea of everyone being large children. That will get me very much worked up. For example, I can't watch the series Scrubs because everyone just here is where the problem starts. It's really difficult to be angry and start shouting in a language which is
I see.
Okay, clear.
That's good. I've done an interview. I can't speak now. Not saying the best place, but we're nearly done, so it's okay. Right. In other words, certain comedies which cause you to get.
Yes. Let's say the character Peter Griffin. He is everything. I think he is everything that's wrong with modern society.
I see. Okay. I think that sums up rather well. I think I can extrapolate from that in Victorian England the sort of values which click for you.
Yes.
Okay. What do you most fear happening in the world?
Everyone going sterile.
Everyone going sterile.
Yes.
I see. So the inability of the human race to reproduce.
Yes. I have some issues with things in general. So, let's say, for example, if you were to ask me what is my greatest fear, I would answer death. And in the same way, every person going to the end of humanity, when then there's nothing really to strive for anymore.
Yes, it's almost as if there's no use in existing. That any purpose that humanity would have had would have gone if they can't reproduce. If there's no posterity.
Yes, it will only be just be up to each and everyone's sort of nihilistic pleasure.
I see. So what would you do if you found out that that humanity becomes sterile?
Try to find a cure.
I see. If there were no cure, what would you do?
Let's say that there were no cure, then I would try to start. I would start gathering good genetic samples from healthy people, trying to save it for a rainy day.
I see. Okay.
Would you like to take it further? It's all right. I can go on.
You may take it further if you wish. It might be interesting.
And let's say that it was impossible in any universe at any time to start reproducing humans at all. Then let's say that it were impossible to reproduce for humans anytime. Either. Then I would try to make the Earth, the animals still living here, as good a starting point as possible when the humans would be gone. For example, let's nuclear plants and get rid of as much nuclear waste as possible to remove any threats from them.
I see. Okay. Those are all the questions.
All right.
Now, I imagine you may be interested in me putting this to the diagnostic team to see what they think.
Sure.
And I'll be interested to see what they say. And if anyone's viewing the interview, I'm going to give my analysis for now. So if everyone's viewing it doesn't want to be effective what I have to say, please turn off the interview now. Okay, Joseph, for once I'm reasonably sure as to what type you are, based on what you have said. And one thing I noticed rather clearly was this these gamma values that you seem to exude. There's an emphasis on two major harms. There's the sense of long-term productivity, doing things that help things in the long run, and then this approach towards people where you find the better qualities in people and you go towards attacking those which you find are wicked or bad. The idea that you don't tend to forget wrongdoings, but instead if it's something which is completely pointless or useless, when they did it and they did it purposefully, you'd remember it. You wouldn't put aside wrongdoing just for the sake of getting along with others or keeping things happy and friendly. And hang on, let's wait for it to go.
And then you like it's not me, right? And I basically said I work for the lounge.
Yes, what you seem to I found that you seem to romanticize Victorian England, which is thought to be a very good example of gamma values, and there's a strong dislike of Peter Griffin, who is considered to be a good example of alpha values. the idea of the light-hearted, fun-loving, comfort-oriented, not particularly productive comedies, which are highly alpha, but which Gamma would find rather inane, and completely lacking in that need to take proactive, productive responsibility for one's surroundings. Even when your fear is of if I'm going sterile, which deprives life, well, is for the human race, of their posterity, and others being able to do things productively in the long run for something beyond yourself, for something for the years to come. And even when that happens, that'll be your greatest fear. You're still trying to find a way to be as useful as possible, to try and make sure that the animals still have a good environment to live in when you are gone, to make sure that things will turn out as well as they could do given the circumstances.
Yes, that's a good one.
And this attitude extends to your friends and family. You proactively take on the responsibility of finding ways to help them out, to improve things. And you yourself, when you like to learn, you're sort of person who actually needs to improve. You need to take on information and find a particular use for it. You want to find out how things tick. You want to find out how things work. You want to extrapolate information which is of use to you so that you can make improvements, so you can make things better with this long-term focus. Now, this to me, with this idea of proactively taking responsibility, is a strong suggestion of the extroverted rational temperament within Gamma values, which would be the LIE, logical intuitive extrovert. And of course they do tend to use extroverted logic. So this idea of making things work, of making things be improved, finding better ways of approaching things, and with introverted intuition, applying that productivity to the long term. And there's this tendency for them to be able to use extroverted sensation to a certain degree and extroverted ethics to a certain degree. They can smooth talk if they need to. It's a role which they put on with some grievance, but they can do it. They are capable of smooth talking, but they don't particularly like it. And the people who they really value, the people who they decide to be their friends, are those who are able to forge a strong connection with them so that they don't have to smooth talk and put on this act, as it were, to make things, make the emotional environment be better. They also, their mobilizing function, their role function is that sense of application of force, of will. But usually, because that's something which is a mobilizing function, it's not something which has strong judgments attached to it. It is a situational thing. So, for what's more important to you, the extroverted logic, so what is the use or productivity of this, and whether it feels right or wrong, if there's a goodness or a badness to it. As a result, you are someone who'll be very, very forceful towards people who are harming your friends, but which shows the evaluatory nature of introverted ethics, but you will not be as forceful for yourself. Indeed, with a tendency towards introverted intuition being an ego function, there's a self-sacrificing tendency in that it's not so much about you, so much as what can be done to help things in the long term. And now if you look at your weakest aspects, we can definitely see the introverted ethics in terms of you find it very difficult to manage your closeness and relations with other people. You also regularly make yourself burn out in terms of physical health, in terms of the day-to-day aesthetic. You tend to push yourself to make things work better in the long run, and so you tend to, and by doing this, you continue to sacrifice your enjoyment of an aesthetic sense in the here and now. And also, when you show me your room very quickly, typical, not really attending to the smaller details in your life. For you, they seem trivial in comparison to things which are of long-term importance.
Yes.
All right. Now, also you said that you had difficulty finding your Enneagram. Now, you seem like a pretty clever chap, but you still have managed to pinpoint one of 9 numbers. Now, my explanation for that is something which my friend Peter Bartlett pointed out to me. He's an LIE. He does not sincerely think that there is a number in the Enneagram which caters to LIE as a type. And I get the sense that it's true. I don't think there's any particular number which is about finding information and being productive and long-term about it. And it's an issue of splitting. Well, it says has 16, Enneagram has 9, and yes, the idea of fears and motivations, they haven't really understood the fears and motivations that would come from being extroverted logic leading. They got ILE and IE very well, which made it 7. They got SLE and SE very well with 8, but some of the others are more difficult. And LIE is one of the more difficult ones for finding your Enneagram type. Anyway, so that's my analysis. You seem to agree with it.
Yes.
Excellent. It was very enjoyable speaking to you, Joseph. I hope to find out what the diagnostic team finds on this. I should probably get going soon, though, because I've got some work to be doing.
Yes.
I've got an essay to hand at the end of the week, but thank you very much. Have a nice day.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.